every single one of you guys in the chat already. Lighten it up. Boyce, where's my shirt? It is on the way, PMG Corey. It is on the way, brother. I hope I didn't give you the wrong address. Hope I didn't give you the wrong address. Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, that shirt is on the way there for you, brother. If it does not get there by the end of the week, man, let me know. I'll send out another one for you, man. Hey, I appreciate you. Merch Monday, everybody. Merch Monday. We are giving away some shirts and some koozies today. We'll do that a little bit later in the stream. Starting it off here on Bubbles. Shout out to each and every single one of you guys in the chat. Wanda, PMG, Corey, April, Reviews, welcome. Super happy that each and every single one of you guys are here. Reviews, shout out to you from Indonesia, brother. Hey, what's going on? All right. Of all the days in crypto, today it was honestly nothing burger. I know we've had some choppy price action, virtuals not caring, just rocketing to the upside. Why do I say that? This week is going to be massive. We've had absolutely no economic news today, and the gauntlet starts tomorrow with consumer confidence and job openings coming out on April 29th. Why is this week so important? Well, whenever Jerome Powell's looking at this data, he's going to be looking at job openings. He's going to be looking at the GDP. He's going to be looking at initial jobless claims, and the biggest one, non-farm payroll, coming out on Friday. We are going to be looking, we are staring dead in the face at what is likely going to be one of the most volatile weeks in crypto. I think that is very, very likely, especially with Bitcoin teasing a very, very key area, that high volume node that we've talked about over and over and over again here on this channel at about $96,500, sitting just $2,000 below. Looking very, very good, consolidating in what looks like could potentially be a flag out here, a flag for Bitcoin. We don't know. We do not know how this flag is going to look. Very, very true. We could get more of an upward trending flag like this. That would be more favorable, more bullish. Why? Because that breakout point would be trending up, and that gives us a higher breakout target up here to the all-time highs. Either way, up to about 106. I'm a firm believer. We see above $102,000 again, above $102,000 again, we're destined to go and test that all-time high. So we got above the first area, that we cared about, right? That daily 200 SMA earlier in the week, a rocket shot candle above the daily 200 SMA, and that looks good. And everybody knows who watches this channel, you get above the daily 200 SMA, baby, and boom, 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 to the upside. You are likely to go. Also, market structure shifted from lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. This is our first higher high based off the market structure that we formed from the end of February, baby, from the end of February. So that's what we're looking at here. We're consolidating beneath this high volume node. It is critical. It is absolutely critical that Bitcoin reclaims this high volume node at about $96,000. Can that happen out of this bull flag? Absolutely. But what I'm looking at here, as the daily stochastics start to come down a little bit, unless we get another violent move up pretty soon, we may be due for some consolidation throughout this week, and I know that's what nobody wants to hear, but there's likely going to be a lot of whipsaws. These candles this upcoming week are likely to be like this. I hate to say that, but with non-farm payroll and uncertainty staring us in the face, still with those tariffs, we've heard absolutely nothing. We have no clarity on the trade war. What's going on, milady? What's going on? We have no clarity on the trade war. Trump is kind of been really quiet over the past couple of days. We've had some big booming news out of some of the hottest altcoins in the game, the SUI ecosystem exploding. Ondo working with the SEC virtuals, just not caring today, going on a rocket shot of about 25% this week. That is the biggest booble, baby. The biggest booble we have here in the top 100. Virtuals up 145%. Can you believe that you could have got it at 56 cents a week ago, 7 days ago? Wow. Wow, everybody. Yeah. TMG Corey says, boo, man, boo. Yeah, I know. We want that pumpage right away. We want that rocket shot to the upside. But what I'm seeing here is a little bit of Sam Price's teaching here, a little bit of that life revision, baby. Breaking above a key area, that daily 200 SMA. We are likely, it's unlikely that we just come towering through and crack through this high volume node without a little bit of consolidation beneath. The daily's a little cooked on the stochastics, and I'm not saying that we can't. Of course we can. We could get another leg up, and if we do get another leg up, I'd be looking for a retest and a juicy long entry sitting in here at about 96,000 to ride this. Yes, potentially the rest of the bull market to my next target, which sits up at about 130,000. Well, boys, crypto, how are you getting 130,000, on your target? Well, I'm taking my fib extensions from the swing high to the swing low of this range, and this takes us up to $131,000. Coincided with the 1.618 Fibonacci extension, looks very, very likely. And yes, if we are very bullish, we could even get up to $167,000 with Bitcoin dominance looking, in my opinion, the top. This could be the beginning of a rally that we are soon not going to forget. So not only did we get above the daily not only did we get above the daily 200 SMA, but we are flirting, baby. We are flirting with this daily support resistance flip. This has been a key level of contention all the way since back here in November of 2024. This area has been support. We fell underneath it, could not get back above, and that area served as resistance 1 and twice, that key support resistance flip, and we've reclaimed it. Look at the last couple of days, using that area as a very strong support line, solidifying this area as valid. So right now, we are tight, baby. We are tight like a tiger. Woo! We are tight like a tiger in between that high volume node sitting at about 96.6 and that support resistance flip sitting at about 92.8. And I think that that area is likely to hold. There's a lot of optimism here in the space. Even on the lower time frames, we're getting stochastics that are getting a little that are starting to, I saw these starting to reverse earlier. Where are they at? Yeah, the 3 hours starting to reverse. The 2 hours pointing in the upward direction. The 1 hour bending over a little bit there. But let's look at our 12 hour. How's our 12 hour doing? 12 hours coming down, so it's bullish, right? We're getting that bullish cross here on the 12 hour time frame. That looks really, really good. It's suggesting that this upward flag may be the way that Bitcoin's going to go. This may end up being a bullish pennant here on the 12 hour. Is that very likely? I'd like to wait for a little more price action here on the daily, and I'm betting on a little bit more sideways consolidation, but this pennant does look to be valid as the 21 on the 12 hour time frame comes up while the stochastics reset to the downside. You see the stochastics reset and Bitcoin hold above this 12 hour 200 SMA, honestly above this support resistance flip zone at about 92.8. We can likely see rocket shots, and no one's tracking it, but once this flag breaks out, whether it be on the 12 or the 24, and this is a 12 hour, there's only 2 a day, right? So this could break out closer to the end of this week if this does come to fruition and take us all the way back to $108,000 upon a break of this flag. I would like to see a retest. Why am I saying that I'd like to see a retest? Well, that would coincide with that $96,000 region coming back, getting that retest at about 96.3 and getting that boom out of that bull pennant with the 21 coming up to meet price action. I like it, baby. I like it, and I think this is the moment of turnaround. I don't think we see below $84,000 again for BTC. This level right here, 88,000, looking to be a nice support resistance flip area if we do come down there, supported by these massive high volume nodes. The biggest one sticking out there at about 84,000. I don't think we lose that high volume node. How much more bad news can we get? What can happen? Anybody drop it on in the chat. What could possibly, we've already priced in some of the worst tariffs, the most horrible trade war, no interest rate. What more could happen? We start a war, someone drops a nuke on somebody. Like, what could possibly happen to have more bearish news in the space? Now you could say, oh, Boys Crypto, you could have bearish news come on out this weekend, but that's arguably a large part due to the trade war. And if that's getting resolved, I would consider that stuff null and void. Now we do have a lot of earnings coming out of some of the bigger tech giants, Amazon, Nike. I know a lot of the big tech giants are announcing earnings this week, and that gives us a little bit, I'll dive into that later. So that gives us a little bit of a glimpse into the stock market and how it's performing, and Bitcoin has performed relatively cohesively with the stock market. So we'll see if this flag does turn up to the upside. Looks very, very good. Now, we went over the bullish case and what I'm looking for, and I am bullish. Do not confuse what I'm about to say next as bearish. However, us as smart traders know we need to acknowledge that we are coming up to an area where people will start and are likely to start opening up shorts. This 618-786 golden pocket bearish Fibonacci from the swing high to the swing low, right? You made a lower low here on the daily, and now where's that first higher low likely to come in, right? Even if you're looking at it on the weekly, you can see it, right? If you have another lower high to come in, it's likely to come in to that 618-786 bearish Fibonacci retracement, right? So there is that level in the chart. I'm really concerned with the 618 here. Why? Because that high volume node is going to serve as resistance until proven otherwise, until it is flipped into support. We are coming up to an area where a lot of short traders are likely to start entering the market and seeing this as a good risk reward opportunity to catch Bitcoin and the beginning of the bear market. Could that happen? The answer is yes, right? The answer is yes, until we get this flippage of the high volume node, and we're teasing a critical area right now. If Bitcoin comes down and loses the daily 200 MA again, we'd have to assume that we're going to go for a deeper Fibonacci retrace to try to catch us out of a miracle, right? If we lose that daily 200 again, I'm not going to like what I'm seeing. I really won't. After this rally, I would have accepted us coming down here and getting the bounce, but now that we got that bounce just above the 618 and we're above the daily 200 SMA again with the 21 curving in the price action, if we lose that daily 200 SMA and we start to roll over here, that would be very, very concerning, and the likelihood, in my opinion, of a bounce down here decreases because of this rally that we've had over the last couple of days. Now, do I see that happening? Absolutely not. We have the global M2 money supply booming out of consolidation. I think we got that on TradingView here the other day. Whoop! The global M2 money supply, baby. Global M2 money supply scream. Nope. We saw this the other day on, let's see here, global M2 money supply. Bitcoin throughout its history has always followed the global M2 money supply. Let's see if we get it here on TradingView. I thought we had it. Yeah, we did. All right, so this, the light blue line represents the price of Bitcoin, right? And the blue line here is a future projection of how much money is going to be in the economy at that time, based on current legislation and how much money has already been approved to be printed, essentially. Now, it says we're going to print. We're going to print the money, baby. We're going to print, turn on the printing press, and go to the heavens. And Bitcoin has always followed suit with that, right? Anytime you get insane money printing, that money ends up where? It ends up either in your pocket or in the bank of some major institution. What do those banks do? They invest. That's how banks make their money, giving out loans and investing in the stock market. So that's something that we could look at as projection. I think Bitcoin turned around. I think the low is in, and I think we see higher prices. All right, diving on into the chat. Thank you, everybody, for being here and spending your time with me here on this Tuesday night. Oh, we got a little bit of dry uvula action going on, baby. A little bit of dry uvula action. All right, let's dive on into the chat. BMG Corey, your shirt's on the way, brother. I promise. We got reviews in here. Reviews 5 in the morning here, brother. Thanks for waking up and being here with us. Good morning. MH, what's going on? Thanks for being here. That's new. Yeah, new pumpage and virtuals. Absolutely reviews. I couldn't agree with you. Who knows what Trump will do? PMG Corey, I couldn't agree with you. That's been evident here in this market, man. The president opens up his mouth, and look what he did with Trump coin. I'm gonna have let me try and do this the best way I can. We are gonna have a dinner, a great big dinner, bigger than you've ever seen before. The greatest dinner for the top 220. Now, I can't even do it, man. For the top 220 Trump coin holders. We are going to have that. We are going to have it. It is going to be the greatest. There is going to be the greatest food. There is going to be the greatest pumpage in the history of Trump coin because I'm manipulating the coin so heavily. The heaviest that anyone's ever seen, right? Yeah, so yeah, it's crazy. A single tweet from the president gets Trump coin rocketing off the lows, saying that, hey, he's gonna have a dinner at the White House. And there's a senator that's trying to actually force an impeachment for that, right? A president just, he's arguing that action by President Donald Trump is benefiting Donald Trump directly financially, and he's using the presidency to line his own pockets. Is that true? Well, that's for the courts to decide, and I'd be interested to see. I'll be interested to see that, because is that manipulation, right? Because we already established that cryptocurrencies can be manipulated. Elon Musk did that with Dogecoin, and he did it very, very smartly back in the day. And then the SEC needed to step in and be like, okay, we need to understand that these are going to be traded the same as stocks. So is Trump coin meant to be seen as that, or is that meme coin treated differently? It's interesting. It's just an interesting theory. It's an interesting theory. Yeah, so that's cool. TIAMH wants to go into TIA. The repercussions of the tariffs could hit the consumer. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. You could argue that some of them the prices have already been passed on to the consumer, right? In the grocery stores and things like that. I was reading an article the other day saying that companies are already passing those prices off onto the consumer. So how bad is it? That's why I'm very excited to see this economic news this week, man. We have a lot of stuff that comes in measuring the consumer and how they're doing. Personal income, consumer spending, right? GDP, not so much. But yeah, consumer sentiment and personal income, consumer spending, and personal income are likely going to tell us the story about, hey, this is how much economists think the average person has been affected, and we're going to get that actual data come out and see how accurate the economists have been in engaging the activity of the consumer. So that's going to be really interesting. If they're overshooting here and consumer spending comes in way less and personal income comes in way less, right? That could spell some trouble. That can spell some trouble, saying that people are holding on to their dollars, but that wouldn't make sense with the stock market rally that we've been having over the past few weeks. It's tough to say. It's very, very tough to say, right? And this is going to measure how much is personal income is going to measure, an average of banks and whatnot, bank account, direct deposits, things of that nature. So we'll see. It's going to be very, very interesting. We got non-farm payroll coming out as well. Man, it's going to be a juicy week. It's going to be juicy. Essentially, here's the rule of thumb for this week. I'll put this out there. If you're thinking about opening up a trade, just please don't do it before between the hours of 9 and 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't do it. If you're a high leverage trader, right? You like to trade anything over at 20x, don't do it. You're likely going to get wrecked. You're like either long or short. That's just what the market makers like. They love taking advantage of devastation or optimism in the market, and they'll wick the price action around like crazy. It'll be absolutely nuts. All right, everybody. Hey, a Tuesday night, we went over Bitcoin. You know what time it is. Let's get into these hot altcoins, these hot, sexy altcoins you guys want to be looking at here in the charts tonight. We are the first one that I'm seeing. Let's dive on into virtuals real quick for reviews. And then we got, empty shells, MH said. Empty shells. Hey, can you blame people, man? Can you blame people for loading up when during times of uncertainty? I certainly don't. But yeah, empty shells. I wouldn't even be surprised if there's some protests and stuff going on around the country. Where are we getting our stuff from? It's interesting. It's interesting because I know a lot of places we're getting our eggs from other places and things like that now. So I don't even know where we're shopping. Like as the United States, right? The country was a person. I don't know where we're shopping for our food now because we're definitely not going to tariff the crap out of someone, them tariff us back, and still be a shopper there if another country's not going to do that. So that's interesting. That's really interesting. All right, diving on in, we got virtuals TIA first up on the chat. Hey, let's dive on into virtuals. Hey, this is the hottest thing since sliced bread right now. The AI play of the, look at the daily. Man, this week, this thing has gone on a towering move, one that has not been comparable to anything else. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, you are up 148%. If you even caught relatively close to the bottom over the last 2 weeks for virtuals, wow, what a move to the upside and cracking above key levels of support, resistance, flip, support, resistance. You're getting back above there. Ultimately, you're going to get a little bit of cool off eventually, right? Like we're seeing in Sui right now, a little bit of cool off, maybe some kind of sideways consolidation. I would speculate on some kind of a flag or maybe even a downward sloping flag, making that beautiful, nice cup and handle coming back to the 618786 golden pocket Fibonacci retracement for a leverage trader. That would be a very, very juicy area to get in around that 80-cent level. Is that opportunity going to present itself? That remains to be seen. But on the macro, you made lower low, lower high, lower low. This is your first higher high. You have not made that first higher low yet in the sequence. So that would be the confirmation that you want to see of a market structure shift. So I'd be looking for that 618786. If you're a leverage trader and you're looking to get into a juicy position, that would be the area that I'd be considering getting in the virtual. Way too overextended for me right now from a leverage perspective. But I got to say this. I'll say this. Let me crack open a cold one before we do this. Shout out to each and every single one of you guys who have a cold one with you on the side, baby. We got the strawberry kiwi Capri Sun cold ones ready to go on the side here. Non-alcohol. I don't drink really, anybody. I don't drink. So this is what we do. The alcohol-free Capri Sun. You guys want to test your lips, right? Here's a challenge for you. In the most non-homosexual way, try to suck this thing down in a single gulp, right? You guys can do that? Man, you get some Boys Crypto merch. You guys send me a video, though. No, not in a creepy way, Sin Nasty Kid. Not in a creepy way, Sin Nasty Kid. I know he's in that kind of stuff. But yeah, virtuals, baby. Virtuals. Looking for the cup and handle. Coming back to the 618786. Oh, what I was going to say. I got a little squirrely, a little off topic right there. What I was going to say is this. Eventually, at some point, I believe alt season is upon us. I think it really is. We're out of our box of remembrance, right? Where we were averaging into altcoins, this box of remembrance. We're getting that full weekly candle so far above the box of remembrance. We've been above it for several days. This is where the Boys Crypto and the community, we're averaging into the altcoins here, baby, and we are out of our box of remembrance. Once again, looking to test that daily 200 SMA above that high volume node sitting at about 823 billion for your average altcoin. Man, I'll say this. It's upon us. And once, in my opinion, it is upon us. Not financial advice, of course. What was I going to look at? Oh, yeah. This inverted cup and handle on, and we've gone over this every day. Essentially every single day. Every single day. This Bitcoin dominance inverted cup and handle. I will invalidate my thesis. I'll be like, all right, Boys Crypto, we were wrong. I will invalidate it once we crack 66.3. Right now, I think if Bitcoin dominance is going to turn around, it is likely going to be in between here and 66.3. The altcoins to me are primed for alt season right here in this zone. I know what people are thinking. Bitcoin dominance has been on a nonstop uptrend for the past 2 years. That could definitely come to the end. We have daily bearish divergence that is forming here on the charts that could be the key to our first kicker down here. For Bitcoin dominance, we had that swing across on the RSI / swing down on the RSI, making lower highs while we're making higher highs here on the Bitcoin dominance. If this does crack, this suggests that we're going to break this low before this high. That could be the first sign of rollover here to test that high volume node. You test that high volume node on the daily, you're likely to break it and come down and test the daily 200 SMA. You break the daily 200 SMA, and you could see something very similar to this. We went over this yesterday. Does everybody remember this time? This was November. This was when Donald Trump got in. Look at what your altcoin did during November, right? With the exception of Ethereum. Well, no, Ethereum included. Look at what your altcoin did during this brief little fart in Bitcoin dominance to the downside. If we get this move, this kind of move, the magnitude of last altcoin season was, right? The target of this inverted cup and handle here takes you all the way down from where you're at, down to that 40% level. Do I think we're going to get down there? No, I don't. But I think these high volume nodes are likely to hold. If we do get a 20-30%, this was a 5% fart in Bitcoin dominance. And you guys saw what the altcoins did. Imagine if we had a 20 to 30% correction in Bitcoin dominance like back here. We had a monumental alt season, a 45% correction for Bitcoin dominance, and it's primed to be even more violent. Why? We have a giant gap here in the VRVP that is formed, number one. And number two, Bitcoin's way bigger than it was back then. And granted, there's more coins in the system right now. I think there's clear winners and clear losers this cycle. I think the meme cycle will eventually start to fade, and real world asset token aggregators, AI, and real world asset token aggregators, AI, and Web3 development, I think, are going to be the hottest coins in the game. Those are the narratives that I'm putting my money in, baby. That's what I like to see. I'm not too heavy into gaming or anything. Not to think, I think a lot of industries are going to do well, and it's up to anybody's guess. It's just my personal investing, how I'm investing my funds. But if there's going to be winning narratives, and it's likely to shift, right? Like Sui just had a massive pump. It's likely to cool off while something else rips to the upside, like virtuals. And then next week it could be, Pepe coin, and then the next week it could be Ethereum, and then next week it could be back to Sui. Like there's gonna be phases, and money's gonna rotate from altcoin to altcoin to altcoin, and then there's going to be a time where you're not gonna be able to catch the lows, right? You're not. I mean, a lot of people didn't catch it from down here, but in my opinion, from a lot of your favorite altcoins, I would put some layer limit longs in and hope they trigger, right? Because if you're not positioned by now, which we've been trying to position over the past couple of weeks, and we had our opportunity. If you're not positioned by now in your favorite altcoin and it's pumped 10 million%, and you're like, wow, it was just, it was just half the price of what it is now last week, you're in a tough spot. You're in a really tough spot, because what do? Do you FOMO into these green candles? The risk that you take with that is insane. Look, you FOMO into some green candles and you can get absolutely dumped on. So what's your plan, right? Did you have a price that your altcoin, what price are you happy accumulating your altcoin? A lot of people would say the cheapest, boys, crypto, the cheapest. It's hard to find the bottom. It's hard. It's not easy. So layering down here, even in bear markets, right? When I'm accumulating Bitcoin during the next bear market, I'm not going to catch the bottom. I'm going to try. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to try. No one's going to catch the odds of you catching the bottom is slim to none. But what you can do, right? What you can do during the Bitcoin bear market, right? On the weekly, I know this is a little bit of a tangent. On the bear market, and you put limit orders in down here on Bitcoin, are you happy today? Yes, you are insanely happy. If you have a long-term hold strategy for Bitcoin, I believe it is going to pay off massively for your future and change your life. I think this asset's going to be worth $1 million, $10 million over the next 20 years. I think this thing's going there, especially as governments and major institutions hop on. If the United States comes out with something saying, hey, we're buying more Bitcoin, oh my gosh, the global race. That China and Bitcoin hold roughly about the same amount of Bitcoin right now. Isn't that crazy? The government? Wow. All right, that was a little off topic, but my point is, I think, is $1.40 a good price for virtuals? Ask yourself that question. Is $1.38 a good price for virtuals? If you say yes, what are you waiting on? I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, I bought Bitcoin at 106. I bought it at 100. I bought it at 78. I bought Bitcoin from between where we are right now and down at $8,000. And you know what? I've been happy with every purchase because I've accumulated more of what is my piece of the pie, baby. My piece of the pie. And I believe if we're sitting at $10 million, Bitcoin goes to $1 million. Are you going to care if you got in at 94, 91, or 87? Or 110? Probably not. I won't. Enough of my little rant there. That's virtuals in a nutshell, baby. Man, the chat's popping off. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys being here. Make sure to smash that like button. Thank you. All right. Here we go, everybody. We got TARS AI, TAI. Let's dive on into it. TAI, let's take a peek at the chart. I think this thing was pumping pretty massively this week like the rest. Woo! Look at that weekly on TARS AI. Hey, you know what? I don't even want to look at the daily right now. Okay, let's do this. Looking at the weekly, we don't have a lot of data. Let's just be real. We don't. Wow, look at all those red candles on the weekly. From a leverage trading perspective, you could dive in on the daily. We're above the 21 SMA. This coin is relatively new. This TARS AI, relatively new, right? Came out, early November last year. And boom, we got to move to the upside after this nasty retracement. Not even a retracement, over 100% retracement from the top. Well, yeah, from where it got released anyway. So here's where I want to look here on the 4 hour. Here's where things start looking a little cleaner, right? Here's where things start looking a little cleaner in the charts. You have a very clear downward sloping resistance line, right? You're looking like you're forming a very nice forming flag here. Does it look too nice? It kind of does, but with that being said, this flag can be absolutely massive to the upside if TARS AI does get this break. I love how the 4 hour has been oversold. If you get oversold on the 4 hour for any asset and the price doesn't dump, right? You've had consolidation, but you did not come back from once you came, right? The last time you were oversold is here. If you get the oversold stochastics to where you were down here on the stochastic RSI and you're sitting at what is likely to be a higher low, this flag looks to move. Where you can't go any lower on the stochastic RSI. Yeah, you could get pinned, but you've been pinned on the 4 hour for the last 2 days. I think that momentum is slowly shifting back in the favor of TARS AI here. Let's see what we're getting here on the 2 hour. The 2 hour looks good. How's the 1 hour look? The 1 hour flag looks really juicy in here. And if I'm getting real, like, kind of see shoulder, head, right shoulder, we failed to break out there. But let's look at on the 15-minute here. Let's see here. See y'all here. Let's look at on the 15-minute time frame. All right. This thing's getting tight. Yeah, we lost a 15-minute 200. Not a good sign. I do agree with that. Got above the 4. Isn't this crazy that some of these assets don't even have, or you got a 4 hour? All right, here's what I'm looking at for TARS AI. This flag's got to hold. Why? Because you could also interpret this as a descending triangle. Descending triangles break down a lot. And in crypto, it feels like they break down every single time. You need this area to hold right here. You do seem to have a little bit of buying pressure. You're beneath the point of control, the high volume node sitting up here at about 10,930. Got to get that lip workout in, right? Got to get that lip workout in. For all my men out there, you guys know, okay, no, I'm not going to get into that. All right. So, yeah, you're looking good here on the 15. The 15's reset. You got a little bit of a inverted shoulder head. You had it here. I admit that. Shoulder, head, right shoulder. You failed to break to the upside. But now, are you forming that again? This is technically a higher low with the wick. Are you going to get that shoulder, head, right shoulder out of here? It's likely. I think that's very, very likely. And this may be some of the best prices you can get TARS AI at before you rip out of this flag. Looks like a good little scalp opportunity. You got to watch for stop hunts in setups like this. Like we put out a little scalp on Sui. It didn't work out. It dipped and ripped on us. But man, the measured move on this is nothing to be reckoned with. Look at the move of this flag, right? You take the length of the flagpole here. You take the length of the flagpole. And you could go all the way to target, baby. You could go all the way to target up here at about 18 cents. I'm telling you guys, Bitcoin dominance starts to roll over. These moves are going to be minuscule comparatively to what the altcoins I think can actually do when massive FOMO starts to dive on in. Is 10 cents a fair price for TARS AI? Ask yourself that. Is 10 cents a fair price? Are you willing to pay 10 cents for TARS AI? You know, regardless of price, how much do you believe in the project? Were you willing to pay 10 cents for Bitcoin back in 2010? You know, so that's the kind of mindset I'm kind of getting here, is if this alt season is going to start, that represents a juicy 7.44 to 1 risk reward ratio. That looks like a good trade to me. Shoulder, head, right shoulder to the upside. You got your stop down here, definitely below that wick. You want to watch for stop hunts, but if you do get the break to the downside, you only need to win this trade 1 out of 8 times or 1 out of 7 times to be profitable. So, you know, that looks good to me. Oh! That looks good to me. TARS AI on my radar. I'm gonna keep this alerted here. I'm gonna keep this alerted. I want to see when we're breaking above the 15-minute 200 SMA. You break above the 15-minute 200 SMA, this thing's gonna fly. This thing's going to massively fly. Look what happens when you break above the 15-minute 200 SMA. You got above the 15-minute 200 SMA. Gosh, it looks like the daily for TARS AI, and you haven't lost it, right? We just lost it. It is key to get back above. You get back above that for TARS AI, and boom, baby. you could go on another rocket shot to the upside. This is a relatively low market cap coin, so to see another double up is not, well, yeah, it's almost a double, about an 80% pump to the upside. Is that not what this move would represent? Whoop, to the upside, 64% to the upside. That looks really, really good for TARS AI and could present a great opportunity here inside this flag that isn't going to last much longer. You're looking on the 15-minute time frame. This thing will break out by, yes, the middle of the night, the Asian trading session. This thing is running out of room here based on the lines that we have drawn here. So that's really interesting. Thanks for putting that on our radar, baby. TARS AI for MH, I appreciate you. Corey wants to look at LMAO. LMAO, man. Yeah, let's dive on to LMA. No, I'm just playing, man. I'm just playing. I know what that means. I know what that means. All right, diving on in. TIA, man. Yeah, made a lot the other day on it. Congratulations, brother. Congratulations. It's a scary ride. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a different feeling being a spot. Like, if you're holding spot in some of these coins, right, and you've held from back here, you're like, oh, thank God. Like, this is awesome, right? I got a little bit of my money back, right? That's the way you're feeling on the altcoins if you've been averaging in since they topped out back here in, December. This was trading at 44 cents once. Is it fair value at 10 cents? If you come back and crack the highs for TARS AI, you're looking at a 4x just to get back up to the highs. You take out any kind of leverage and you revisit the highs, you're going to be looking at a rich man, PMG Corey. You're going to be looking at a rich man. He's going to go and get himself some new suits. He's going to take a new profile picture. Probably not, man. That's a good profile picture you got. But yeah, it definitely looks really, really frothy for these altcoins right here. And I think that optimism is returning just enough for the market to where people are starting to fear missing out on the bigger altcoin move that I think is just on the horizon. All right, all the altcoins became stable coins. Nothing happens in the market. Yeah, hey, this week says no. Almost everything double-digit winners. The only losers I see on here is DEXE. However that went, that thing got absolutely wrecked earlier. I don't know what happened to that project. Absolute disaster. Sui up 60%. Pengu, baby, up 141%. I remember getting an airdrop that when I was from my Jupiter stake rewards. Wow, I sold right when it came out. That's wild. That's wild. Virtuals, I think is going to do massive damage. I think a lot of these coins can do some massive damage. Brett, I don't know, man. You guys know how I feel about the meme coins. Don't get me started on that. Fartcoin was doing really amazing earlier this week. Yeah, had a massive pump. Fartcoin just a month ago was trading at 30 cents. Now at $1.10. That's a 4x in 30 days. So we'll see if we get that pump a lump to the upside, baby. That pump a lump to the upside for the altcoins. You used to have virtuals reviews. Yeah, hey, brother, I've been in and out of it. I do own a little bit of virtuals. I will keep that on everybody's radar. Virtuals, I think, is going to do some massive damage. I think it's super undervalued. If that AI narrative takes off, I see that as a big winner, baby. I see that as a big winner, especially if they integrate some of these tokens into some of the new platforms that are being released by Tesla and Google. If you guys haven't seen those humanoid robots that they have, how are they going to exchange information, knowledge with each other? How do they communicate? It could be through things based off of a virtuals protocol or another cryptocurrency that could be the base, that building block of that communication between those and that's heavy speculation, but that could be the building blocks to something a little greater. It's interesting. All right, let's dive on in. If I missed any, I'm sorry, everybody. Just repost them in the chat. Corey wants to look at Turbo. My friend messaged me about that the other day. We looked at it on stream. And Turbo made a massive monumental move, man. It really did. All right, let's dive on into it on the smaller time frames. Why am I looking at the smaller time frames? Because if we looked at the bigger time frames, we'd just be looking at a straight vertical line over the past few days for the majority of the altcoins, right? These have been massive moves, and this is the day we talk about this all the time. The danger of shorting an asset that's been massively sold off looms greatly. If I was in a short, I'd be in and I'd be out the next day. Why? Because in the event, eventually, after a massive sell-off like this, you'll get enough buy pressure, enough buy orders to start triggering short stop losses. What happens when short stop losses get triggered? You could have a massive cascading liquidation event to the upside, because when a stop loss gets hit when you're in a short, or you have a liquidation get hit when you're in a short, it triggers a buy order in the market, and that's what could cause some of these moves to massively get those big gains to the upside. right? Based off of not necessarily people buying, but shorts and liquidations occurring on the buyer's side, right? Or on the short seller's side. So that's what I'm looking at here for Turbo. Likely a massive cascading liquidation event here, man. Like you had 3 months of constant dumpage in 2 days, liquidate everybody. That's what the market makers love, baby. That's what the market makers love. With that being said, let's dive on in on the smaller time frames to see if we can get a little bit of an edge here on Turbo. One of the hotter meme coins in the game right now. One of the hotter meme coins in the game. So the first thing I'm seeing that I'm not liking too much, I don't like this shoulder head right shouldery vibe. Let's see if we can get this. All right, so here's what I'm seeing for Turbo. You can get some You can get some consolidation here. If you look at the 1 hour. Man, I want to call this a flag based off that wick. That's the only kind of good pattern that I could see here, but you'd have to include that wick, and you'd have to be looking at it on something like the 15-minute time frame, and that would say that was a false breakout right there. You could view it like that on the 15-minute if you like to. But to me, Turbo's really overextended right now. You're below the 15-minute 200 MA, currently getting rejected. You don't want to play 200 MA dominoes to the downside. You're below the 1, you're above the 3. So mixed signals for me, man. Mixed signals for me. Something I am seeing that's looming a little bit here on the 4 hour is just the bearish divergence here. So this bearish divergence is kind of poking its head out as the RSI trends down. You are making that higher high. You have confirmed that higher high with the lower high here on the RSI, stating that you're likely to crack this low before you crack this high. Is that going to happen? It doesn't necessarily have to. The 21 has come up and supported price action here on the 4 hour time frame, but that bearish divergence has not played out. With that being said, oftentimes when you get enough consolidation here on the bear div, once the RSI resets, you get what's called hidden bullish divergence. Hidden bullish divergence does form more often than not on the macro time frames, right? On the macro time frames, on the bigger time frames, you can start seeing this from this swing low. You are making a what is known as a higher low, right? A higher low. If this is going to be a higher low right here, and you could say, oh, it would have been here, 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 here. It doesn't matter because the validation points would have been the same. This hidden bullish divergence says you have a higher low being formed on the chart while the RSI is resetting. This is saying that, hey, we have more room to go from the upside here. This is the amount of space it took for the price to do this. RSI is resetting towards fair value. So it suggests that before you crack this low, this is a more extreme version, right, of divergence, right? Whenever you get bullish or bearish divergence, this is saying that you're highly likely to crack this high before you crack this lows. This tells me that Turbo is unlikely to go back from once it came from this pump. So that is good news. That is good news. Not something that I think is super helpful in this situation, but something you want to definitely keep on your radar. If you do start coming down to a 618 or 786 fib, from your swing low to the swing high, and you could even take it from this range, man, honestly. From the swing low to swing high, if you get another dip down here into the 618, 786, and you're saying that, hey, I think this range is going to hold that point of control sitting at about 45.70 here for Turbo, that could be a juicy area. And the 618 did get that reaction there. Look at that beautiful reaction from the 618. From the swing high, you came down 618, double bottom there, and now you got that push to the upside. So a little bit of confusing indications here for me here on Turbo. Something that's been super extended over the past couple of days. You are starting to consolidate. I acknowledge that. You don't want to see that support line break, and you want to see stochastics starting to reset and curve to the upside if you have any hope of higher prices coming in. I do still like that wick, man. This represents where sellers are definitely coming in for Turbo. Look, every time you touch this price, selling. You sold here for an entire singular day, so there's definitely a sell wall here, at least a small one, right? Relatively speaking, at least a small one here for Turbo that is key to get over. Let's see if this upward sloping support line can hold us here as we go throughout the night and into the Asian trading session. You got another 6 4-hour candles that'll form throughout the day. So let's revisit this tomorrow night, man. I just want a little more price action before I could give you a Boys Crypto call on Turbo, baby. I appreciate you putting it on the radar, though. Thank you, PMG Corey. I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, reviews. What's going on, man? Let's check out Hyperliquid. Let's dive on in. Yeah, PMG Corey, of course, man. I appreciate you being here. Hyperliquid, man. Let's dive on in. Dive on in. All right. Hyperliquid. We had in this flag, broke out to the upside. Okay. Well, hold on. Had in this flag, and we did, we were speculating on the flag. I thought there'd be a little more consolidation, but boom, we did get that breakout and almost retest there to the upside. Looked good there for a Hyperliquid out of that break. Now for Hyperliquid, you did have a very, very interesting resistance, right? Resistance. This was support. This is the key line I'd be looking. Let's get rid of everything. What I'd be looking at here, even on the daily time frame, is it not? This is a pivotal area for Hyperliquid to maintain above. This area has served as support, flipped into resistance, we got back above, support. This area is going to be key support here for Hyperliquid, and something that I am liking about this asset that I'm not seeing in a lot of the altcoins. Check out the stochastic RSI coming down pretty violently and looking to reset. If the stochastic RSI resets here for Hyperliquid, it would look really, really juicy for at least a squeeze up through this gap in the VRVP to come revisit 22 to 23 cents, the beginning of the devastation back here in February. And that is looking very, very likely to me here. You have a shift in market structure. You had a lower low, lower high, lower low. This, that you could say that was a lower high, higher low, higher high. Is this going to be your higher low? Is this going to be your higher low here on the daily? Let's look at it on the 4 hour and see what kind of Fibonacci that we got from the swing low to the swing high from the prior range. Did you come down to the 618? You did not. So there is that still looming there. But as we go throughout the night, we want to see this area hold at about $17. Why am I looking at that compared to everything? Right? We've been drawing patterns on everything else. Everything kind of, and you could say, hey, we're in a downward sloping, channel here. That's okay. You could say that. However you want to put it. It's kind of ugly on the 4 hour, man. That doesn't look super hot to me. You could say you're in a downward sloping channel. I agree with that. The line in the sand for me, I want to see this $17 level hold. Even if you were to open up a long right now, with the stop, because you could get a juicy 10x position in right here, and put your stop loss, or you're just even let it ride to liquidation. Something I don't normally recommend. But if you did put in a 10x, you would have to go to liquidation beneath that, beneath this wick right here on the 4 hour, and you could look to ride this puppy, right, for Hyperliquid, a relatively new asset, not even new. It deals with the NFT space, and I'm gonna open up a whole new can of worms here for the NFT space. I remember that 2021 NFT craze when everybody was looking for these monkeys 2021 NFT monkey. What was it? It was these things. These things. Look at these, the images. I'm so glad these were the images that came up when I searched that. These were these little monkeys that were selling for hundreds of Ethereum, 40, 50 Ethereum each. It's been absolutely crazy, and they've all got modified like this. One's blowing bubble gum. Others are just, doing whatever they're doing. And this industry went through the roof. Is that going to come back? I don't think the monkeys are going to come back. You know what I think can? You know what I think really can hammer this industry in a way that's just that the industry isn't prepared for? That Pokemon sponsorship, or that Pokemon partnership with Sui, and the terms and conditions that have been laid out between Sui and Pokemon partnership, the companies that are in there all facilitate an NFT marketplace that is being built on Sui. Speculation, but the Sui Global Conference is coming out on May 1st and 2nd. If a partnership is announced between Sui and Pokemon, I think Hyperliquid can get a very substantial, massive rally, piggybacking on that news saying, hey, the NFT's back. The NFTs are back. Why? Because a lot of untradeable, and they also have another game being developed on Peaky Blinders, or a Peaky Blinders game that's being developed on the Sui blockchain. They're utilizing the Sui blockchain to trade items in game. That's going to be really interesting, because that hints to me that there's going to be real world value to some of the items that are in the game. Pokemon, right? And I know it's like, oh, how much money could be in the game? Hundreds of millions of people have played Pokemon. Pokemon is one of the leading entertainment games in the world, right? People have it on their handheld devices, on their phone, and a lot of people are those play to win kind of people, or pay to win kind of people. if they do start releasing some rare assets, right, on their game, and they are coincided with an amount of SUI, and those fees go back to SUI whenever they're exchanged, which would likely be a lot, SUI could benefit very, very massively from that. Something that I'm keeping on my radar. That's yet to be determined. It's speculation. There's rumors out there on X. That's why SUI has had this monumental pump. That's why Deep Book Protocol on SUI has had a 121% pump over the last couple of days. You know, not SUI, but Deep Book. And you know, this thing has the potential to fly. I like looking at SUI here on the daily time frame. I think there's going to be some kind of flag that forms here. I really do. I think SUI could be the winner of this cycle. I really do. I think this could be the Solana killer. Even looking at like the total volume transacted in stablecoins and everything, it's competing with Solana. It's competing with XRP. Things that have market caps marginally like 10 to 20x, or not 20x, 10 to 15x higher than the market cap suggests right now for SUI. I think $2, $3, and $4 are all very fair prices for SUI. I think this is an incredibly undervalued asset. I'm not saying that we can't have pullbacks here in the near term, but this is one of the biggest coins in my altcoin bag, and I am betting very, very heavily on this altcoin season. I think this thing can absolutely rip, and I think this thing has the potential to be one of the top performers this season. Now, there's going to be consolidation along the way. You're not just going to have a vertical rip, but let's dive on back into Solana, right? Solana, real quick. I know I'm getting a little away from the chat here, but this is important to understand. Look at Solana, right? Solana went on this run from $20 all the way up to $200 in no time, right? This took from October to March of 2024. So the October to March, you could even say November, right, had a 10x. I'm not saying SUI's going to 10x from these levels, maybe from $2. I think we could definitely see a $15, $20 SUI this cycle. I don't think it's impossible. And of course, there's going to be a bumpy ride along the way. But I think this asset has the potential to be a top 10 crypto. And to get there, you're going to have to at least double the value of SUI to come on, take on Tron. So, you know, even here on Coin Market Cap, you can see, yeah, Tron sitting at a $23 billion market cap, SUI at 11. You got to understand that this week alone, 7 days market cap, last week we were sitting at a $7.2 billion level, 11.5 billion we currently sit for SUI. I get this token unlocks coming on the 1st. It's not a massive, substantial amount of the supply. It's only about 0.84 or so. But I think that despite the token unlocks, and we saw that with Jupiter had some massive unlocks and absolutely cataclysmically ripped to the upside. So during the last set of Jupiter unlocks for the team. So is that going to happen here for SUI? That's a lot of speculation, but remains to be seen. It's just a winning narrative that I see happening over the course of this cycle, baby, this cycle. All right, where did I leave off, man? You guys had me on a little bit of a sidetrack there. I don't even know how we got in talking about that. Woo! Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. Hey, my recommendation for the night, and honestly, I know everybody wants to look at the charts, and I'm going to be looking at the charts all night, too. Don't get me wrong. But, man, take a breath. The fun starts tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's when we get the news drivers coming out, and that's when I think this market is really going to roar in one way or the other. So don't dwell on the Asian price action that much tonight. Tomorrow's going to be the big mover. It's going to be the start of, I think, going to be a historical week. All right, diving on in. We looked at Turbo. We looked at Hyperliquid. Do I think Athena's about to pump for reviews? Yeah, absolutely. Sin Nasty Kid, welcome, man. I appreciate you being here. Let's dive on in. Athena, ENA, I don't know anything about this project. I can't tell you anything about this project, but what I can do is chart it for you, brother. Let's dive on in. So, Athena, testing that 4-hour 200 SMA. So, this is a very clear market structure break right here. You have lower high, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And now you made your first higher high. This is on the daily time frame. You made your first higher high. What happens if this is going to be a true market structure shift is going to be, and markets act like this all the time. Very rarely do you see this. You make a higher high, then you make a higher low, and then you make a higher high, and then you make, you know, a higher low. That would be market share, and then you make a lower high, and then you make a lower, like that. Just that rarely happens in markets. Oftentimes it happens in cycles, right? And people have analysis based off of this, like Elliott wave and things like that. I'm not an Elliott wave trader. I don't even understand how those people, I don't understand Elliott wave theory. I'll be honest with you guys. You have the A, the B, the C, the 1, and then you went into a 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D, E, F, and then the F turned into a 1, and then the 1 turned into a 9, and then the 9 turned into a 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D corrective pattern. I had no idea. And then when I look at Elliott wave traders, right, and I see other traders on YouTube, and I look at their charts, it confuses me. It makes me question whether or not I understand addition and subtraction, right? The spider webs that are on their chart make absolutely no sense. More power to them. If it's a trading strategy that works out for them, that's awesome. But I fundamentally understand that about myself, that I will never be an Elliott wave trader because I don't understand. You honestly make a whole new chart. This is what their charts look like. You have an A, you have a B, you have a C. And then it will go like this, and then it will go like this, and then we'll have a 1, 2, 3, and then we'll have a 3, and then we'll have a 9 up here, and it'll go boop, 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 boop. And then that's the Elliott wave. Of course, it was going to plan out. It's the Elliott wave. It's the Elliott wave. I can't stand that, man. More power to them. If they have a great trading strategy behind it, absolutely get after it. But that is way too confusing. I cannot look at a chart like that. That'll drive the autism up the chain, man. Up the chain. Not that I have autism. I don't. Shout out to any of you guys who have autism. I know it's a very, very difficult disease to deal with. All right, so here we go. We made our first higher high here. Our first higher high. Where is the likely place that you're going to get your first higher low? Where you're going to pull your fib here, and it looks like you could come back down to this key Fibonacci retrace at about 30 cents. That's 618786 golden pocket Fibonacci retrace for Ethena. This looks very, very likely being the first likely area that there's going to be a higher low come in. You get a bounce off this zone. That could be the zone of high interest here for a juicy long position. You could even get into some higher leverage plays, especially if you're playing with the 706 and the 786. You could potentially open up some 20xers looking to get the macro reversal out of this move. You don't often see that here in markets, so that would be a very, very juicy trade to the upside, speculating on the next higher high coming in. Where would that likely come? That would likely come up here to the 1.618. This would be your next likely higher high. If you do have that market structure shift to about 45 cents, I think that is very, very likely. Let's zoom on out here and see what else we got here for Ethena. So that's the area I would be focusing on, that 30-cent level. I think that area is likely to be revisited, especially if Bitcoin does trade sideways. I don't think all altcoins are going to pump, but you were trading at a dangerous zone here. You were, right? Support, you know, support, and you got back above that key support resistance flip, and now you're holding above it. But man, to me, it just doesn't look like one of the stronger coins in the game right now. The rally from the low, what was the rally from the low? How was this? That was 38%. That's not that bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's kind of on par with everything else, but you're still struggling here. So I want to see that higher high come in. I wouldn't be aping in right now. That is for sure. I'd wait for that 618786 and wait for that high probability opportunity in the market, man. So that's what I'd be looking at. I'd put this right here on your chart from the swing low to swing high, and I would be taking, you could take it from this reaction, but I'd take it from the swing low, be a little more conservative here. Even if you wanted to front run the 618, 30 cents flat, baby. Isn't that it? Yeah, about 30 cents flat for your golden pocket retrace. That looks very likely. Even if it's just a wick, and you catch that wick, right? You could have a massive red candle on the day, right? Catch that wick and ride it up to the upside, and you're in 10% in the gains, and people are like, what's happening to ENA? Why is it crashing, right? And you just got that golden pocket 618786 Fibonacci bounce. You'll feel really good if you do that. So I'd keep those levels on your chart, brother, and that's what I'm looking at for Ethena, even if it does have a chance of reversing and getting on out of here. On the weekly, stochastics are looking good on the weekly, and the RSI is coming up. That looks okay. But I think you got a high volume node, man, a pretty massive one sitting at about where the most Ethena change hands. Let's zoom this out here. Yeah, so the most Ethena has traded hands at about 37 cents. So the bears are in control until you get above that 36, 37 cent level and flip that high volume node into support. Just something I want to keep on your radar, brother. I appreciate you dropping that coin on our radar. Let's dive on in, brother. Woo! Let's dive on in. Sin Nasty Kid, welcome, brother. I appreciate you being here. We went over Hyper Liquid. TAI. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody, everybody. I got you guys. TAI, LMAO for PMG Corey. What's up, brother? We got, Cardano. So the Cardano thing, I did do a little dive into that, right? So Cardano, let's see here. Cardano. Where was it here? So Cardano. I saw Cardano did have, where did I find this earlier? I'm gonna have to do a little bit of a backtrack there. But Cardano recently did have some unlocks. That could have been the reason for some more selling. I still think Cardano is going to do relatively well. It has been a lackluster performer here in the top 10. I think Charles Hopkins is a very, very smart guy. And he, you know what's really, really interesting about him? He didn't even know that the asset was going to be, he woke up the day, I saw an interview with him on YouTube, and he woke up and he didn't even know that Cardano was being added to the U.S. Strategic Reserve. He woke up to like 100 text messages. Congratulations, brother. Well done. And you know, maybe we got it in the news here. Yeah, you got ETF news coming in. Maybe that was a Twitter post that I saw about the unlocks. I'll have to verify that. But yeah, look, Cardano still has some supply to come out, right? And it comes out in a regular vesting cycle, or an unvesting cycle, I guess you could say. 78% is out. I really don't have a good answer. I don't have a really, really hot answer for why Cardano is struggling here. And it may be due to shifts in narratives. It may be people just redistributing their money. But I think on the charts, man, Cardano, or ADA, baby, ADA, I think Cardano does represent a decent risk to reward here. I really do here. Let's look at it on the daily. If Cardano cracks above the daily 200 SMA, the last time it did that, we had a monumental rocket shot on the stochastic, or on the on price action of about 77%. Not many coins can move like that in a singular day. It responded way more violently than any of the other coins that have potentially been added to the U.S. Strategic Reserve. I think that this coin can massively do some damage this cycle. Why? Because from the swing low to the swing high, right? Those Fibonacci extension targets sit up here at about $2. Yeah, at about $1.96 and $3. I think Cardano has the ability to get there, and you're currently trading at 70 cents. That's a 4 to 5x from where we currently sit here for Cardano. And the Fibonacci pool from the swing low to swing high does look pretty juicy, as we did get a reaction off a key area as we came down to that 786 once again, and we got that reversal. You are at the high volume node right here, and you're still below the daily 200 SMA. A lot of the altcoins are sitting here. I think XRP did take a lot of dominance here from Cardano. I wonder if we could chart that. Can we? We can. Let's take a look at that theory. So no, Cardano, XRP didn't take away a lot from Cardano here. I mean, the last couple of days it has for sure. And this isn't saying that people are directly rotating money from XRP into Cardano. It's just measuring performance compared to another asset. You know, you did break market structure, though. This says Cardano's about to have a little bit of a rally comparatively to XRP, coming down to that golden pocket, 618-786 Fibonacci retracement, baby. Yeah, you could get a bounce there. You get above that high volume node, and Cardano can make some gains comparatively to XRP. That's an interesting chart to look at, and I was just speculating there. But I don't really know why Cardano's been a little lackluster. Unlocks definitely have something to do with it. Anytime you go over here, and I just talked about it for Sui, right? I think Sui's going to do some massive damage this cycle. I think this thing's going to outperform almost everything. I do personally, I believe that. But they have unlocks coming in 2 days. When people get their free Sui, right, or investor coins, that they're entitled to since they've invested at the beginning, are they going to sell? You're betting on people not selling. Are they not going to sell? If they don't sell, the supply is still going to go up. The circulating supply for Sui is sitting at just 32%. So what's that going to do to the fully diluted market cap? Like if we start getting some selling pressure in there? I don't know. That's the problem, man. That's the problem. I have no idea. So yeah, it's interesting. I've noticed that weakness here in Cardano, kind of a lackluster pump from the lows. You can't really even say that. You still got a 33% pump off the lows. If you talk about this move comparatively, this is a news-driven pump based off the strategic reserve. And I think people found a lot of value in Cardano down here about that 61 cent level. And you know, you get above this high volume node, your odds of gapping up to about $1 are very, very high. You get above the 200 MA and that high volume node right here, you're going to gap up to that $1, I think, in a very, very quick amount of time. Every time that Cardano doesn't have a lot of price history here. Let's look here. This is kind of interesting. The how many days you spend in between here and here. Look at that on the VRVP. Very rarely is Cardano in this range. In the past 4 or 5 months, you have just, you know, 2 weeks or so in this price range despite this entire range here. That's why there's this major gap in the VRVP. There's very, very little volume that goes on in this range. You had a massive gap up, liquidation, right? Hit this high volume node. You got that reversal back up through the gap. You'll ping pong in between here very, very quickly. You did have a little bit of consolidation there. And then you consolidated underneath that high volume node right here. So you really got to reclaim that high volume node, get some candle body closures, and that gap up I think is going to be very massive and very, very quickly. Highly likely that gap gets massively, massively filled all the way up to about 90 cents, 92 cents, all the way up to about 99 cents at the highest volume node, that point of control there of that micro range. Point of control sitting up here at about $1.07. That's where most people got rid of their Cardano here. So that's just something I'm tracking, man. That's just something I'm tracking. If you're looking at the entire range, you're above the point of control, or you know you're not. You still got to get above that point of control at about 73 cents. I think that may have been a reason that Cardano may have been struggling. This represents the area where most people exchange the hands for Cardano, and there may still be sell orders that are still looming here for Cardano. The point of control has not been reclaimed yet by Cardano and got rejected perfectly back here on the 23rd of April. So that's really interesting to see. Just speculating right there. That's just me thinking out loud. But yeah, Cardano definitely is struggling comparatively to the rest of the market. I could not agree more. All right, diving on in. It was a 3X and just flew. Yeah, turbo, massive, man, massive. Hey, congratulations to anybody who got in on there. WorldCoin, yeah, WorldCoin and Pepe, yeah, WorldCoin and Pepe. Hey, WorldCoin I saw was doing really, really good today. Were they not? WorldCoin, baby. I hope the chat's updated, man. I hope the chat. Let me get out of this. Let me get out of this. I don't know what it is about watching yourself on YouTube, man. But don't you guys agree that guy's handsome? What's up, man? What's up? Yeah. So crazy. All right, I got it updated now. But yeah. TAI trying to break out right now. That's interesting. Just went over that. Just went over it, baby. Put the trade ID out here on the live. Yeah, gave the shot right there on the 5-minute time frame. Yeah, you're getting close. Did I just move that? Yeah, I did. But yeah, you're getting close. You're getting close to the end of this thing, man. And I think that time will tell. But this thing likely to get very, very tight and then explosively move in one direction or the other. With the 4-hour being oversold and the 21 coming up in the price action, I think this is very, very likely to break to the upside. How much longer is this going to go? Oversold? You ever see that? The only thing that I've seen oversold for that long is what? Can anybody guess? This is my favorite game. Melania coin. Have you guys ever seen something this oversold for this long? Look at it. Or hold on. Let me see on the daily. Where was it? It was the daily that was oversold. Something was oversold for a stupid amount of time. I think maybe it was the weekly. Yeah, look at this. Okay, and you guys know how I feel about the meme coins, man. Look at this on the RSI. You were oversold on the daily, and you only got more oversold on the daily, and you could argue that you've been oversold. This is the first, I would argue, absolutely nothing right here. Yeah, little reactionary bounce. Yeah, squeeze some shorts. Okay. Melania coin has never not been oversold. It's been oversold. Like, okay, except for now, you can be like, oh, now it changed market share. I wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. This thing has been oversold since its inception. Oversold on the day. Look at it. Oh, it's all red. You've never been overbought. You've never even been above the 50 line for the RSI despite this liquidation event. Crazy. I just saw that the other day and I was like, wow. Has it really been oversold that long the entire time? It's almost like everybody tried to pump and dump. You guys know how I feel. All right, TAI trying to break out. Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a peek at WorldCoin. What's going on, Nasty Kid? Hey. Yeah, hey, PMG Corey, appreciate you, man. I haven't seen you in a couple days, maybe even weeks, brother. I appreciate you hopping on in. Hope everything is going good. Hope everything is going good. All right. Here we go. All right. Oh, and I will tell you guys this. I am planning on streaming with PMG again. We do have a little bit of a schedule conflict going on right now. That's why we are struggling to stream at the same time. But we are going to be streaming, and I'll be updating you guys on that. We haven't streamed in a couple weeks. We only did that first stream together. You guys didn't miss out on anything. I'll keep you guys up to date on my X, and I'll announce it here on my channel. We're trying to come up with a time that works with everybody. My lady just got a new job, a new schedule, so I'm no longer on nights. I'm trading the U.S. session, so it's a little different for me as well. That's why the new stream time's at this time, right? So because the studio, I don't know if you guys get. I can't show you guys this, can I? Yeah, I can. All right. I'll show you guys. Check this out. I'm gonna get you guys. I'm gonna show you guys my studio, right? Check this out. All right. Let me see. Is there anything incriminating on here? None of our toys are on the bed, nasty kid. Don't get that idea, brother. Check this out. All right, here we go. That's the bedroom, right? And that's where she sleeps. Right? And we can't have that. I can't be in here yelling about fake internet money when she's sleeping. You guys know what I'm saying? Yeah, you guys know what I'm saying. I might give you guys a house tour sometime. I get a little house tour. I'll guys walk you guys around and show you guys. Did you guys not see that? Hold on. I got to figure out a way to make this not, can you guys, I got to figure out a way to make this not accessible. Like, okay, so here we go. I got you guys. You got the tour. You got the bed. You got the nice bed right there. It's a little wrinkled. It's okay. It's because my dog sleeps on it. Any of you guys in the bed, if you guys just saw my shorts, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's what we're looking like, baby. So to stream during the nighttime, right? I wasn't able to stream, or during the daytime now, I could stream. But at night, she's sleeping, right? And as much as I talk to her about crypto, and I'm literally always talking to her about crypto, she's like, save it for the stream, Matt. This stream, you gotta say this on the stream. As much as she loves hearing about my imaginary internet money that I invest our funds into, and you would think that would put her to sleep, but it doesn't, right? It doesn't. She would not appreciate that while she's sleeping. So that's why we are streaming at this new time, baby. It's her fault. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, but that's why we're streaming at this new time. I like it, and it's towards the end of my day. I was streaming at the beginning of my day, so that was kind of interesting. But yeah, so we're finding a time because PMG's like at a different time. He's up in Canada as well, you know. So we'll, I'm surprised he doesn't do that with Canada. In the Canada people, they all go, honey, can you do the laundry? I don't know what Canadians sound like, but man, shout out to all the Canadians out there, all the Canadians. But yeah. So we are figuring out a time that we will be doing that in the future. Is my camera adjusted right? You guys see my head? Oh man, no, don't tell me we're gonna have those issues again, man. All right, those issues, there we go. Oh my goodness. All right, diving on into the charts, man. Here we go, WorldCoin, looking good. Consolidation here on the 2-hour time frame, the 4-hour time frame as well. 21 coming up in the price action. That's okay. You want to see a little bit more of a pump a lump on this 4-hour time frame. The stochastics are oversold. I'm seeing this on a lot of altcoins. Oversold stochastics and consolidating above where we were. You do have a little bit of bearish divergence that already played out. Notice how that bearish divergence played out. This isn't valid anymore. This is not valid anymore. This swing down on price action while you had this swing up in price action while you had that swing down on the RSI. Stating that you cracked this low before this high, that wick satisfied that. So that looks really, really good to me here for WorldCoin. Bearish divergence already played out and you're sitting at higher prices. Consolidating in a range looks very, very good out of what looks to be potentially a flag forming here on the 4-hour time frame. Looking to break to the upside. All of these altcoins look primed and ready to go on a parabolic run, baby. A parabolic run, and it would catch everybody with their pants down. It would catch everybody with their pants down to see the altcoins 2-3x, and then, you know, you'll see the news waking up being like, is it altcoin season? What just happened? Is it altcoin season? We're not going to be buying in. We're not going to be buying Bitcoin at 150, 200,000. When the average person's going to start averaging in. No, thank you. We got in, we got in at the lows, baby. 8K, 20K, 50K. Well, we did. Well, when I got into Bitcoin, right? Some of that opportunity wasn't presented for a lot of people that are getting into this space, right? Like, people will never see a $10,000 Bitcoin again, sub 10,000, I believe, right? I don't think we'll ever see a 10,000. Peter Schiff thinks we will, but I don't think we'll ever see a $10,000 Bitcoin again. I don't think we'll ever see under 50K again. I'm going to be bold and say it. I don't think we ever will. The potential for the bear market to start was there and still looms. If we did crack below 50K, that'd be the bear market, but I don't think we're there. I think market sentiment is turning around, and I think we're going to see all-time highs sooner than a lot of people expect. I think dominance is going to roll over, and I think Bitcoin's going to tickle up to that $130,000 to $160,000 range, the first range that I'm targeting before we see a major pullback, in my opinion. And we went from just 60 to 90K, from 90 to 120 would be the same, or from 60 to 90K up to 130%, or 130,000 would be the same kind of move percentage wise. So I think Bitcoin definitely has it in the tank. And once we get back over that all-time high, baby, I think we're going to see a blue skies breakout like we've never seen before. All right, diving on in. Yeah, Nasty Kid put Altcoin on our radar again, brother. Again, the fake internet money. Yeah, man. Yeah, what are we all here for? What are we all here for? Are we here to make money, or because we're here to make money, bro? I'm here to make money, man. I'm using these internet monies as a way. It's not fake internet money. I know there's projects, protocol behind everything, and I think a lot of these projects have the potential to possibly even change the world. But yeah, fake internet money, man. It's just what it is. It is what it is. It's just a joke. I promise. All right, Altcoin. Altcoin was brought on our attention by Sin Nasty Kid, and you know what? He saw this thing and it ripped, baby. It ripped. You know, he was talking about it back here. He put that on our radar. I was like, yeah, man, wait for some kind of consolidation. And you did. We had this kind of flag drawn. I remember this was drawn. We had some kind of consolidation like this, right? We had some kind of consolidation like this. Never in my dreams would I have seen a breakout like that, baby. That thing went on a cataclysmic 5x from that flag. It just took a singular day. Honestly, it was, let's break it down the 4 hour. Let me see. Yeah, this was, in the course of 2 days, a monumental 5x. And if you guys want these kind of gains that quickly, they're rare to find. So shout out to you, Synastic Kid, man. You found one of the hottest gainers in such a short amount of time. Very rarely do you see anything like this in the market, even in crypto. A 5x in 2 days, that is a 6x in 2 days. I would highly recommend taking your initial investment off the table. Just something that I would do if I was in risk management. But you do your own. You do you, man. But man, if this thing starts to consolidate, I do see a little bit of a shoulder, head, right shoulder there. Not my favorite. Like when I'm starting to see that. But you could also argue that this is a bigger pennant that is forming here with these wicks. I can see that as well. So time will tell here. Time will tell. But if you can get some consolidation here on Altcoin, I read through the white paper. This project is really interesting. And it's at a market cap that has the potential to do even damage as it sits right now, even out from a 6x off the lows. There's not a lot of people that own the big top percentages of this coin. Very, very interesting. You're making higher lows, and the highs are staying the same. So you do have a little selling pressure here at about 7 cents. You can't blame anybody for taking profits down here, right, when you got a 5-6x in just a matter of 48 hours. So there is a little bit of consolidation, but if it was going to dump, would it not have dumped by now? That's the question. That's the question, right? So I'd be looking for some more consolidation here. I don't see another gigantic leg up without some kind of consolidation. This could take a couple of days, maybe potentially to the beginning of May, right? And we'll see if you either get the breakdown retest. That would be the short opportunity, or the breakout retest. That would be the long opportunity right there. But I do see some consolidation coming in for Altcoin here over the next few days. Man, you put that on our radar, and it has been on a cataclysmic tear ever since. Shout out to you, Sin Nasty Kid. What a call. What a call, baby. What a call. All right, dive it on in. Yeah, BMG Corey, what's up, brother? What's up? Hey, I appreciate you being here. I love the fake internet money joke, man. That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorite. Hey, everybody, do me a favor. If you guys haven't done it yet, I would greatly appreciate you guys hitting that like button. It really does help out the stream. It really does help out the stream and me, right? And me getting this channel out to a little, some more people and helping us grow here, helping us grow. I'll be honest with you guys. We hit a little bit of a stagflation. We've hit a little bit of stagnation. I enjoy seeing everybody here every single night with me. You guys are absolutely loyal to this channel. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's super awesome. I love the small group feel. I love how it's the same people here time and time again. It shows me that, hey, at least I'm doing something right entertainment wise and giving you guys something that you enjoy and you like here on almost a daily basis. So I greatly appreciate that. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you guys being here with me. But yeah, that like button definitely helps us get out to a little more people to try to branch out this community a little more. I greatly appreciate you guys. Much love, much love. But that's what I'm seeing in the markets, baby. Let's dive on into SEI for MH. SEI on Binance, man. This is going to be one that I'll be honest, it was in my portfolio. I do own a little bit of SEI still. I still do, right? But it's not one of my top holdings, right? It's less than 1% now for sure on my altcoin portfolio. This thing, we're going to have to do a portfolio dive sometime. I think that would be a lot of fun. But listen, SEI, baby. SEI. I'll say this. The gaming narrative. I hate to point back to Sui. I hate to do it when you're looking at other assets, but I'm so intrigued by this potential partnership with Pokemon. Why? Because SEI is in the gaming space too. And the project for SEI is really, really cool when it comes down to the white paper. I think this asset has a lot of room to run to the upside. You have a shoulder head. Is this a potential right shoulder that we're about to get out of this? Can you get a right shoulder here supported by this high volume node at about 20 cents? I think that is relatively likely. Donald Trump, World Liberty Financial does own this coin here. And, you know, if you guys are interested in what Donald Trump does, right, you can look up. Where is it? On Arkham. I have it saved here. Yeah, you can look at it up here on Arkham. This will tell you, right? You could go down, and I know it's crazy. You see a lot of different transactions. So today, they bought. I like to sort these. I like to sort these here whenever I'm in this, and this is kind of confusing whenever you greater than $1. What just happened? All right, yeah. So you could see everything that they do. Everything here from these little meme coins that they're buying a couple bucks of or whatever. So this is a team managing a wallet, right? But their big holdings, you could see as they go down here, they're buying a lot of different Toshi's on here. Like they're buying a substantial amount of coins. They bought some Near. They're buying a lot of coins here, right? So you could look up here and see how much that they hold. Right, and some of them it's just like, okay, I have $14 worth. Like, it is what it is, right? Like, hey, I dabbled in, I got a couple meme coins or whatever, right? But then you get up here and you can see what, you know, what is massively owned. At the top of the list, owned $14.28 million of Ethereum, 8,000 Ethereum, right? And you have all these AVAX is up there, Move is up there. Whenever you see a big purchase with a K in front of it, likely that it is a big one, baby, a big one. Ondo sitting up here, 342,000 Ondo tokens. SEI, $129 million worth of SEI, $5.98 million of SEI. So this coin is held by the World Liberty Financial wallet, and just something that you guys can do. This is Arkham, right? Arkham, intel.arkham.com. If you guys are interested in what, you know, Donald Trump's team is doing with their crypto, not necessarily indicating like whether prices will go up or not, but this does show what they're doing. If you guys are interested in that, that is really cool. So I think SEI does have some legs to go to the upside. Isn't it crazy to think that this was just trading at 70 cents not too long ago, back in December? This made it all the way up to 70, did it not? Yeah, it did. 73 cents, topped out and went to the depths. So even just a retest, and that's not even the all-time high. The all-time high sits back here, you know, in early 2024 when it reached all the way up here over $1. That's a 5x from where we are, and I think SEI is one of the projects that I could say has the probability of revisiting the prior all-time highs. That's a 5x from here without leverage. I think that is very, very possible. With that being said, The team has to stop selling tokens, right? That was a big problem back here in 2024. The team started selling some massive amount of tokens, and that held the token back. So it led people to question, like, is the team really here for the token? If the team starts selling some big portions of a token, that gives people like, oh, they must not believe in it. And price did suffer. Price suffered for SEI before making that rally. And even after the rally, a lot of tokens being sold by the team. That's very interesting. So if the team stops doing that, that would allow SEI to revive and I think go back to the highs. But if the team's selling in this 40, 50 cent level, is it going to go back to $1? Like, if they had that much faith in the project, that's just something speculatively that I think about, right? And of course, the team's going to sell. I don't blame that, but they were selling some fat amounts out of their developer wallets, and not something that I'm really interested in messing around with. I'd like to see some changing in behavior on the team's part when we get back up to those prices, man. I don't want to see a team. I don't want to just invest in something that a team's going to dump on. It's just something that, it's just my opinion, man. Just my opinion. But SEI, I think, can do some real damage. If this Pokemon partnership goes through with Sui, that's going to reignite the passion on other games in the industry, in my opinion, games that will follow Pokemon suit. Like, in the gaming world, Pokemon is the United States. Pokemon has such a power over the gaming industry. If it gets a partnership with Sui and other projects start looking for Sui alternative, SEI is going to be the first one on their list. If this thing develops some partnerships, you can get some massive explosive growth to the upside. Very interesting. Very interesting. MHSEI, baby. SEI. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Synasty, the high and lows have been big. Yeah, man. Absolutely. It is true. It is true. So, I just remember that from back when I first got out of the Navy. I saw something on Twitter, some developer wallets selling, and it was a substantial amount. And I had to go back and verify that, of course, but there was some. It looked just like the World Liberty Financial wallets. So I don't know. I had to dive a little bit. I want to see a team that's convinced in the project, right? I want to see these token unlocks for Sui. If the team gets some tokens, are they just going to massively dump on everybody? It's a possibility, but if that happens, how long would it take the Sui price to recover during an altcoin run when everything else is pumping? It begs the question. But that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate each and every single one of you guys hopping on in here with me on this Tuesday night. Everybody. Hey, listen, tomorrow night's probably going to be a little bit of a longer show. Tomorrow, we're going to be diving on into the intricacies. I think that's the right word. The intricacies of the data that we get tomorrow with job openings and consumer confidence. Polymarket right now is giving us an 88% chance of a rate cut in the coming months, or in Polymarket is giving us an 88% chance of Fed Chair Jerome Powell announcing interest rate cuts on this next Fed meeting. The next Fed meeting is up here in May, right here, baby. Right here, May 7th. This is going to likely be the day. 88% chance that we get an announcement of rate cuts. If that happens, risk off shifts back to risk on. Risk on gets heated, and that can ignite the Bitcoin rally here going on into May, which would historically be different. That sell in May, stay away. January, February was supposed to be the bull market pump, but we had massive dumpage. Is it going to be the opposite this time? That begs the question. So we're going to have to wait and see what Jerome Powell says here. That press conference is going to be very interesting. That'll be the first time Fed Chair Jerome Powell has the data to back up what he says when it comes to inflation and the employment rate after the tariff war, right? In the event that the tariff war does conclude, we haven't had a lot of news on that. I'm very interested in that. I really want some tweets. I want them and I hate them. I want some tweets for Trump to get some clarity, but I hate them because it's like you get a tweet from Trump and your trades go like everywhere, man, everywhere. Yeah, Monday, low volume Monday. Tomorrow's the day. We're gonna start strong at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 9 a.m. Central for me here in the great state of Texas, everybody. So yeah, I'm going to be keeping that on my radar. I'll be looking at that tomorrow morning. I'll keep you guys up to date on X, baby. If I see anything hot in the charts on X, I'll be posting that there for you. Follow me at BOYCECRYPTO102. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys diving on in with me tonight. On this beautiful Monday. Was I saying Tuesday earlier? I may have been saying Tuesday. But on this beautiful Monday, I will see you all tomorrow night on the live. Until then, thank you for joining me. Smash that like button before you head out of here. Thank you for joining me. Until then, until tomorrow night, Boys Crypto is out, baby. We are out. Much love. I appreciate each and every single one of you spending your time here with me on this Tuesday. I'll see you tomorrow.